Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Wednesday, July 13th, 2022. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Now, if you're looking for my MLB best bets, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Of course, I'm always running my $15 MLB best bet, so you can check it out at Pick Dawgz Premium. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Wednesday, July 13th. First up, we see an afternoon contest between the Seattle Mariners and the Washington Nationals. Now, we don't have an official lineup for this game, as the Seattle Mariners have not decided who their starter will be quite yet, or at least announced it. While on the other side, we should see Eric Fetty going for the Nationals. You know, Fetty has really struggled in 2022. Going into the season, I thought it was actually going to be a pretty good season for Fetty, but an ERA above 5 here in the middle of July, not what you wanted to see, and we saw one of the worst starts he's had this season. Last time out against the Braves, 3 innings, 8 hits, 8 earned runs, 3 home runs, 3 walks, and only 1 strikeout. It's tough to back him in this spot. He's given up at least 1 home run in each of his last 3 outings. The walks are starting to pile up, and the Seattle Mariners, if they decide to go with a bullpen game here, their bullpen is actually pretty solid, in the top 15 in projected WAR, and this season, their shutdown guys, their 7th, 8th, and 9th inning guys have been pretty good. One of the reasons why they've been competitive in the American League this season, especially as of late. I'm going to take the Seattle Mariners here on the money line. We'll see who they decide to start on the mound, but I think they get the job done nonetheless. Next up, we see another afternoon contest at 12:20 Eastern start time. New York Mets and Atlanta Braves, big-time NL East matchup here. Chris Bassett and Charlie Morton, a pair of righties, going at it in this one. Now, Chris Bassett's been pretty inconsistent for the Mets this season. His ERA is still below 4, so it's been a successful campaign for him overall this year. But you know, it seems like in his last few outings, he's been getting hit a little bit. You know, he's a guy that's able to go deep into ball games because he doesn't really get into pitch count troubles. But only 8 strikeouts in his last 13 in the third innings, giving up 5 earned runs and 2 home runs in that stretch. Now, all 3 of his last 3 starts were against the Miami Marlins, but he's facing an even tougher lineup here, in my opinion, the Atlanta Braves. Although the Braves do have some strikeout issues as a team, this is still a very, very powerful lineup. Good OPS numbers overall. They're actually number 1 in the last 30 days in team OPS against right-handed pitching, and number 1 in isolated power. So although Charlie Morton started the season not the best form, he is actually pitching a lot better as of late. He's gotten that ERA below 4.3 now at 4.21. He's missing some bats, earning a lot of strikeouts. We saw last time out, 7 innings, 2 earned runs, 7 Ks against the Nationals. And it's not easy to strike out that Nationals team. They're pretty good, they're pretty patient and disciplined lineup. So good performance there from Morton. I think he pitches well here. I like the Atlanta Braves on the money line. Next up, we see an interleague matchup between the Milwaukee Brewers and the Minnesota Twins. Aaron Ashby and Joe Ryan are your projected starters. Now, I think there's some value here on the road team and the Brewers. I think when you look at these two lineups, you go head-to-head, I think the Twins do have an edge overall, but they're facing a left-handed pitcher here in Aaron Ashby, and the Twins just haven't had the same numbers against lefties as they've against righties. When you look at left-handed pitching, the Twins are ranked 24th in team OPS and 18th in isolated power in the last 30 days, while the Milwaukee Brewers have done a lot of damage against right-handed pitching really from the start of the season, but especially in the last 30 days, where they're ranked 5th in team OPS and 5th in isolated power. And the biggest problem that I see in Joe Ryan's game particularly, and the same can go for a lot of the young pitchers right now, guys like Logan Gilbert, Tristan McKenzie, include Joe Ryan, guys that are susceptible to the home run ball. Joe Ryan gives up a lot of fly ball outs. He's given up at least 1 home run in 4 of his last 5 outings. He hasn't even really faced the toughest of lineups: the Mariners, Guardians, the Rockies at home, Orioles, and White Sox. I think this could be the toughest lineup he's faced in that stretch. And the Brewers, like I mentioned, very powerful lineup, pretty home run dependent lineup as well. I think they find a few homers on Ryan here. I think Aaron Ashby, although he's on the season 4.52 ERA, this is a pretty beneficial matchup facing a team that's had their struggles against lefties. I'm going to take the Milwaukee Brewers here, a team that has the much better bullpen as well, getting plus money on the money line. Next up, we see the Detroit Tigers taking on the Kansas City Royals. Tarek Skubal and Brady Singer are your projected starters. Now, I do think that Tarek Skubal is the better starting pitcher overall, but he's certainly not in the best form. And when you look at the Kansas City Royals against left-handed pitching as of late, it's really tough to take the Tigers here. Royals number 5 in baseball in isolated power in the last 30 days against lefties, 9th in team OPS in that stretch. And Skubal has been getting hit pretty hard. Strikeout numbers aren't as prominent in his game as of late also. You look at his last outing, it wasn't the worst outing against the Chicago White Sox, 6 innings, 2 earned runs, but he did give up a home run in there. It was his best start that he's had for quite some time, but just go back one start previous against these Kansas City Royals, 4 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 5 earned, 2 homers, 3 walks, only 1 strikeout. The Royals do a very good job at limiting strikeouts at the plate against righties and lefties. I like him in this spot on the money line. I'll take KC at home. Next up, we see the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the San Francisco Giants. Now, we don't have an official lineup for this one quite yet, as the Giants have not announced a starter. We've seen plenty of times this year that when Gabe Kapler doesn't announce a starting pitcher, it usually means they're going to go with a bullpen game, so we could infer that that's the case. We'll have to see for sure, but Zach Gallen going for the D-backs. Gallen has struggled quite a bit in his last few outings. There's no doubt about that. He gave up 4 earned runs to the Rockies in his last outing, 3 earned runs in 6 innings against Colorado the previous start, and then 6 earned, 7 hits in 5 innings against the Padres back on June 28th. So not his best few starts, giving up a lot of home runs as of late, at least 1 in each of his last 4 outings. And it'd be one thing if those starts against the Rockies were both at Coors Field, but the most previous one was at home where he gave up those 4 earned runs. So a little worrisome there. When you look at this Giants bullpen, if they do go with a bullpen game, I don't think it's the best idea. It really hasn't worked out for him this season much. And I think the Diamondbacks can do some damage offensively against this Giants bullpen, which is ranked in the bottom 10 in projected WAR right now. I'm going to take the over here. Gallen has struggled. Giants bats are starting to wake up a little bit. I think we're going to see a pretty competitive and high-scoring game here. In our next matchup, we see the Pittsburgh Pirates taking on the Miami Marlins. JT Brubaker and Pablo Lopez are your projected starters. Now, I understand why the Marlins are favorites and pretty big favorites as well, but I still think there's a little bit of value here on Pittsburgh. I just don't think Pablo Lopez is pitching as well as a minus 185 pitcher right now. If you look at his ERA at sub 3, there's no doubt about that he's having a good season, but he still has some issues with the home run ball. The Pittsburgh Pirates have been competitive against right-handed pitching in the last 30 days, and JT Brubaker I don't think is that bad of an option for this Pirates rotation. Pirates have been really looking for consistent starting pitching in the last few seasons now. But, you know, JT Brubaker is a guy that's going to be able to miss some bats. The Marlins do have some issues with strikeouts as a team. Brubaker had 6 Ks last time out, 6 Ks the previous start. So, although he has some issues with the walks, gives up a good amount of base hits, he doesn't allow a lot of home runs, and he does miss a lot of bats. So, I think this is going to be a pretty low-scoring game, a competitive one as well. And I think Pittsburgh can cover the run line, the plus 1.5. So, that's where I'm headed. Give me Pittsburgh plus 1.5. Next up, we see the Cincinnati Reds taking on the New York Yankees. We're going to see Mike Minor and Luis Severino as your starters. Now, unlike the last game where I said it was going to be a pretty competitive game, I think this one's all Yankees, and that's why you can see at the moneyline price, New York minus 315. You don't see a lot of minus 300 favorites, but when the Yankees are home against a team like the Cincinnati Reds, that's where you're going to start to see it. You know, Cincinnati 32-54 this year. Yankees 61-25 right now before they play their first game on Tuesday night. Mike Minor 1-6 with a 6.63 ERA. Just hasn't been a good season at all for Minor. Last time out, he pitched against the Pirates, 6 1/3, 5 hits, 4 earned, a home run. He has given up 12 home runs in only 38 innings of work this season. That is almost a home run every 3 innings. The Yankees are a very powerful lineup. They have hit lefties well. They've hit righties well. Severino's pitching well. I think it's all Yankees here. I'm going to take the Yankees on the run line, laying the 1.5 runs. In our next matchup, we see an interleague game between the Philadelphia Phillies and the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, there's no official lineup for this game, so we could see a pitching change. Right now, we see Zach Wheeler and Ross Stripling as the projected starters, but I wouldn't be surprised if one or both of these guys were scratched by the end of the night or by tomorrow. Now, if these are the starting pitchers, I think the edge goes to Philadelphia right off the bat. You look at Zach Wheeler, the much better starting pitcher, I think one of the bigger NL All-Star snubs. Him and his teammate Aaron Nola. Wheeler's last 14 innings, he's gone shutout baseball against the St. Louis Cardinals with 10 strikeouts, only 2 walks allowed. and he is pitching very, very well for Philadelphia. He had a rough start to the season, but he has been able to bounce back in a big way. And on the other side, Ross Stripling, he has been pitching well. There's no doubt about that, but he doesn't really go too deep into ball games anymore. About 5 innings, maybe 6 at the most here and there, but the bullpen for Toronto has really struggled. One of the reasons why the Blue Jays haven't had the best record this season, they were going into the year one of the World Series favorites, and they're only a few games above 500. That's one of the biggest reasons, and I think Wheeler is just too good right now. Give me the Philadelphia Phillies here on the money line. We'll have to see if these are the starting pitchers that go. Next up, we see an AL East matchup between the Boston Red Sox and the Tampa Bay Rays. Shane McClanahan and Josh Winkowski are your starters for this one. Now, the Boston Red Sox have hit left-handed pitching very, very well in the last 30 days with their top 10 in both team OPS and isolated power. However, Shane McClanahan is not your average lefty. He has been, I believe, the best starting pitcher in the American League this season. 9-3 with a 1.73 ERA. 141 strikeouts and 104.1 innings pitched, so a ton of strikeouts. Doesn't really give up that many home runs, 12 homers this season. The walk's a little bit of an issue here and there, but for the most part, McClanahan has been super, super sharp. And, last time out, he pitched very well against the Cincinnati Reds. The Rays bats didn't back him up. He went 6 innings, only giving up 1 earned run, 8 strikeouts. The Rays lost that game 2-1 in extra innings, but I think the Rays bats get to Winkowski here. If the Red Sox had a better starting pitcher that was a little bit more competitive, I may think about taking the plus money, but I just think Winkowski's in trouble here. We're already starting to see him regress. He had an ERA below 4 for quite some time, but now up to 4.35 after that last start against the Yankees. We went 5 innings, 6 hits, 6 earned, 2 home runs, 5 walks. Not really going to get a lot of strikeouts. I think the Rays take advantage of that. Give me the Tampa Bay Rays at home here on the money line. Next up, we see an AL Central matchup between the Chicago White Sox and the Cleveland Guardians. We're going to see Aaron Savale and Lucas Giolito as your starters, 2 guys that are not having the best 2022 seasons. Now, Lucas Giolito had a ton of expectations going into this year, unlike Savale, but I will say Savale's in better form right now. Lucas Giolito, it looked like he may be getting a little bit sharper on the mound. He had a good start against the San Francisco Giants, but last time out against the Detroit Tigers, a lineup that struggled all season long, Giolito went 6 2/3 innings, had 8 strikeouts, so he pitched deep, missed some bats, but gave up 5 earned runs, 5 hits, a home run yet again. The home run ball has really hurt Giolito. The walks have really hurt him as well. And the Cleveland Guardians are a really good lineup in patience and discipline. They don't strike out a lot. They walk a lot. They get on base a lot, and I think they can make Giolito pay. Savale's pitching a lot better than he was at the beginning of the season. I think he's good enough here. Give me the Cleveland Guardians on the money line. In our next matchup, we see the Los Angeles Dodgers taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. We're going to see Tony Gonsolin and Adam Wainwright as your starters. Now, I've said that I do believe that Tony Gonsolin is going to regress in the second half of the season. I just think it's going to be really tough for him to hold on to that 1.62 ERA when his xFIP is above 3.5 right now. But I think he's still good enough here for the Dodgers to get the win on the road. Dodgers have crushed right-handed pitching, and Adam Wainwright has had a bit of an issue with the home run ball recently, which is not really like him. He's more of a pitch-to-contact guy, especially in the later years of his career. Can get a good amount of ground ball outs, but he's given up 6 home runs combined in his last 4 outings to the Brewers, Marlins, and Phillies. And, he's just not pitching the best as of late. Last time out, he went 9 innings, but took the loss, giving up those 2 homers, 2 solo shots to the Phillies. And the Cardinals have lost the last 2 starts that Wainwright's had on the mound. I think the Dodgers are a team that's just crushed righties from the start of the season, the last 30 days of the season. I think they get to Wainwright here. I also trust the Dodgers bullpen a lot more, so give me Los Angeles here on the money line. Next up, we see the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Chicago Cubs. Spencer Watkins and Justin Steele are your starters for this one. Now, there's no official lineout, so again, we could see a pitching change, but if these are the starting pitchers, I am going to lean towards the Cubs here. Now, not my favorite game on the board. The Orioles do hit left-handed pitching pretty well, but Justin Steele, I've been impressed with his game as of late. Now, he skipped his last start after his most recent start was July 4th. He took a rotation off. Now, he'll be most likely starting here on Wednesday. If there was a starter to get scratched in this matchup, I do believe it would be Steele, but his last 11 2/3 innings, giving up only 2 earned runs with 15 strikeouts in that stretch. The only issue with Steele's game has been the walks this season. The home run ball, he's limited, but the walks have been a problem here and there. But the good thing about his game is he's able to keep the ball on the ground, so he can get double play balls a lot of time. This is going to be an interesting game. Like I said, not my favorite game. The Orioles are a pretty red-hot team, but I still think against Spencer Watkins, the Cubs will find some offense. I think Justin Steele pitches well yet again, so give me the Cubs here and a lean on the money line. In our next game, we see the Oakland Athletics taking on the Texas Rangers. Paul Blackburn and John Gray are your starters here. Now, the Oakland Athletics have lost each of the last 4 games that Paul Blackburn has started, with 3 of those losses being on the run line. And he has struggled quite a bit in those outings. He's given up a combined 6 home runs in that stretch. He gave up 2 homers to the Astros last time out, 6 earned runs, 7 hits, and only 4 innings of work. I do worry about him in this spot against the Texas Rangers team. And offense does pretty good at home, especially against right-handed pitching. John Gray hasn't been the sharpest as of late, but he's been able to win some games for Texas. In his last 5 outings, the Rangers have won 4 of those 5, with the only loss being to a really good New York Mets team on the road. I think Gray is good enough here, and I like the Rangers' bats. I trust their bullpen a little bit more than Oakland's, even though we saw in the first game of the series, the Rangers' bullpen almost blew the game altogether. But I still like the Rangers' bats a lot more here. Give me the Rangers on the run line, laying the 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the San Diego Padres taking on the Colorado Rockies. Joe Musgrove and Chad Cole are your starters. The Padres haven't had the best luck at Coors Field in recent seasons, but they were able to finally get that win in the first game of this series. I think Joe Musgrove is the far better option in this matchup. Rockies, I'd much rather take them when they're facing a left-handed pitcher than a righty, and Musgrove's been one of the best righties in the league this season. 8-2 with a 2.09 ERA, 98 strikeouts in 99 innings. I'd like to see it rise a little bit, but still about a strikeout per inning is where you want to be as a starter. Last time out, Musgrove, he gave up 4 walks, but he was able to dance around trouble. Only gave up 1 base hit, 7 innings of shutout ball against the Giants, 6 strikeouts to go with it. I think he's good enough here, even though he's pitching at a hitter-friendly ballpark. I think the Padres bats, a lineup that's been very good against righties, get to Chad Cole here as well. And when the Rockies bullpen makes its way into the game, that's where I really believe the Padres have the big advantage. The Padres top 5 in projected WAR bullpen-wise. Rockies dead last in baseball. So give me the San Diego Padres here on the money line. In our final game of the night, we see the Houston Astros taking on the Los Angeles Angels. Christian Javier and Shohei Ohtani are your starters for this one. Now, Christian Javier did struggle last time out against the Royals, where he gave up those 5 earned runs and 3 homers. But he still had 7 strikeouts, and I think against an Angels lineup that had big issues with the strikeouts this season as a team against righties, against lefties. I mentioned in the last 30 days, they've had a 30.2% strikeout percentage against right-handed pitching, the highest in baseball. And the Angels just struck out 14 times against Javier back on July 1st. That was a stretch where Javier had 27 strikeouts in 14 innings of work, had a combined no-hitter against the Yankees, and pitched very well against the Angels. I think he bounces back from that rough start and pitches well here. But on the other side, Shohei Ohtani, he is pitching very well for the Angels this season. He's got 2.44 ERA. His expected ERA, FIP, and xFIP are all below 3. So there's really not a ton of regression in his game to worry about. .99 whip is good. 111 strikeouts this season, very good, in 81 innings of work. I like the under in this game. We have a pretty low total. I think it's for good reason. Give me the under in the Astros-Angels. And that's it. Those are the games for Wednesday, July 13th. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pickdawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.